For today's double indie game preview, it's a double boomer shooter medley of Relentless Frontier and Gravelord. Before we begin, both games are being played in early access, and what you see may not represent their current versions. We're beginning with Relentless Frontier, another in the GZ Doom developed boomer shooter vein. When we wake up on an alien planet and it turns out that everything is out to get us, we must try and escape by running, jumping, sliding, and slide jumping our way through the land. The gameplay here is definitely classic 90s arcade style shooting, as you'll be moving at top speed, doing your best to stay away from the myriad of enemies all out to get you. The level design here focuses on very wide and open areas, with some very interesting and original set pieces in some of the later parts. Enemies will run the gambit, from those that will spit at you, from those that will just charge at you from any matter of direction. Now, Relentless Frontier may not have the same level of weapon combo insanity of something like Ultra Kill, but it does do a few original takes with weapon and gunplay design. Most of the kind of higher tier enemies in this game have armor, and armor will reduce all damage taken by them. But you have several weapons or weapon modifications that can cause armor break. Once their armor is broken, then they'll take full damage from any source. The different guns all feel and respond very nicely, and their alt fires do allow for some additional tech or strategies as you get further. One of my favorites is from the autocannon, that once you unlock its modifier, it will start shooting fire bullets once you kind of hold down the trigger long enough. And you can also launch fireball grenades that can just melt a lot of enemies, provided you don't step in the fire yourself. A major aspect that separates Relentless Frontier from the other shooters we played is an emphasis on melee. Your Omni Axe that you pick up at the start not only is kind of like your primary weapon, but you'll unlock additional attack tech as the game progresses. First, you'll get a dash attack that makes it a lot easier to initiate and also cause armor break on some of the enemies. And you get the lovely ground slam that you can perform when you double jump in the air, which the height that you fall dictates what it does. The basic height, it just lightly stuns. Medium height, it will armor break. And at very height, it will just be like a mini nuke that you drop onto anything that lands or that you're landing near. So combat does come into a play of trying to figure out where is the best thing that you can jump off of to maximize your slam. There are secrets, additional upgrades that you can find for the different weapons, and the game definitely goes for a lot in terms of content that you'll be going through. While the early access version that we played is only, I think, 8 levels, episode 1, there is a really great and challenging variety, especially if you play this on highest difficulty. In terms of like any complaints or issues I have with it, I can't really think of too much. It can be a little bit awkward to control at the start, as you need to balance careful shooting with sliding and dashing and double jump sliding and all that. The boss fights and boss encounters are also quite interesting, and the game definitely gets a bit easier as you get further along, thanks to the kind of omni-fuel mechanic, that as you kill enemies with your axe, you build up your pool of like your Omni Fuel, which can then be spent at any time to refill ammo, armor, or health. It's a great way to kind of act as a middle ground between the kind of boomer shooter only resource on the ground matter to more modern day takes where you have some means of restoring your resources. If you are still in a mood for a boomer shooter, because we've had like this buffet of great boomer shooters over the last 3 years, I highly recommend you check this one out. I am definitely looking forward to playing more when it is released, and we shall see how things develop on the remaining episodes. We go from aliens to the grave with our preview of Gravelord. So this one is a bit more traditional in terms of its FPS gameplay. Kind of feels in a way like Quake. We play a gravedigger who, when the dead decide to not want to stay dead, decides to pick up boomstick and shovel in order to put them down for the count. As you go through the first episode, you'll be fighting lots of varieties of undead. The gunplay here, again, is more classic FPS, although I do really like the grenade launcher. It actually felt really satisfying to use on top of your other weapons. Different weapons will get also access to their own alt-fire, but the alt-fire in this one is kind of a universal one, so you can't just swap between each weapon using their respective alt-fires. The game does feature additional movement tech, including a double jump and this kind of shovel teleport, but you have to pick that up within each level. It does not stay from level to level. Our kind of general play here, again, is going to be run around, find a key, trigger an arena, kill them all, move on to the next. And while it did feel great to play, it does have that more like repetition to it. It's a little bit more repetitive compared to Relentless, as your enemies or the enemies in the environment aren't really like affecting things as much compared to the previous game, nor do you really have a lot of interesting tech in that respect. The more, like, I guess, like, the one original aspect to Gravelord is that it does feature kind of wave-based stages. You see one at the very end of the game, and there's also one that unlocks once you beat it, where you have to choose which upgrades will become unlocked for the remainder of the waves. So it's that kind of balance between, do I want to get more ammo available, or do I want to have more health and armor on standby? The other aspect that is original to Gravelord is the card system. In every level, you'll find level 1, 2, and 3 card, and you'll be able to equip one per level, with them persisting across the levels. And the cards themselves will give you various buffs, such as you can shoot your weapons infinitely, but it will cost you health instead of ammo once you run out, to getting more armor, enemies can drop armor, one of my personal favorites, piercing on all bullets, and it's a great system to provide some customization. The problem is that because you can only equip one card per level, it doesn't really like give you a lot of choices. Like, you don't feel like a sense of progression in Gravelord. And I think that was by design. And this one, again, definitely echoes more of the like earlier 90s styles shooters, where very little progression from level to level. It's more about each level being its own standalone device for you to run, shoot, and jump in. I am curious to see what they will add in future episodes, especially with more weapons, more alt-fires, and hopefully some more interesting varieties of enemies. As probably the most evil enemy in the game right now would be those annoying rats that can just run up to you and start nipping at you when you're not paying attention. Still another very solid in the boomer shooter category. So, just like the end of the last part, if you are still starved for shooters and looking for another one, I would check this one out. And we have some very interesting shooters that appear to be coming out for 2025 and beyond. Both games were played with press keys provided by the developers, and again, both of these were in early access. Let me tickle your game. It doesn't involve shooting, booming, graves, or relentlessness. Please get in touch. Let me know what you think about these down below, and with that, I will see everyone in the next video. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and if you're interested in more in my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.